And we are live. Welcome back with Murphy Mac to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast, where we help you get started on your fitness journey. What is up, folks? How are y'all doing? Hope y'all having a great Memorial Day weekend. It is Sunday before Memorial Day, so I did want to shout out to all of our veterans out there, active duty, military, and veterans, and especially those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country, for our freedom. Thank you. We appreciate y'all. We have immense gratitude for y'all, and it doesn't go unnoticed what y'all do or what y'all did for our country. So thank y'all. We appreciate y'all. And yeah, hope y'all are enjoying your day off of work on Monday. So yeah, I just want to say that before we get started in the podcast, because I know there's a lot of, hopefully there's some veterans or some active duty that listen to the podcast. I really don't know. But yeah. Let's hop into the podcast. And today's podcast topic is going to be something that I'm experiencing right now. If you've been listening to the podcast, you probably know that I'm training for a backyard ultra. If you don't know what it is, I'm not going to get into it. It's an ultra marathon style race. But essentially, I'm going through a prep, or what I call a prep. A lot of people call it a training phase, a program, whatever. I call it a prep. And it's just when I'm getting ready, get my body prepped to endure something, a challenge, a goal, whatever it is. For most people, it's just a fitness journey. Maybe it's just losing weight, build a muscle, anything like that. But I call it a prep just because I call it a prep because I'm only going to do it for a certain period of time. And then after that race, I'm not doing it anymore. Like I'm not training for that specific race anymore. So I'm prepping for that specific race. And yeah, and then that's it. And then I'll be going on to the next thing or whatever. So there's different phases when it comes to a race. And I've done a few of these preps now. I've done several. This is like my fourth major prep I'm going to be doing. I've done several little mini preps for like other little smaller races, but these are my big race that I do every year. I do at least one. I go through a pretty big prep, and these preps are months and months long, depending on what it is. So when I decided to do the Backyard Ultra, I was about 5.5 months out. So I started my prep right then. I started about 5.5 months out. And now I'm over 2 months in. I'm on week 9, I believe it is. Or this was week 8. I think so I end my week on Sunday. So this was week 8. So I'm going through these kind of phases already. And that's what we're going to get into today. And it's really they're phases that happen on any kind of goal, any kind of journey to a goal, mainly a fitness journey, but it can apply to a race, a bodybuilding show, any kind of competition you're doing, any kind of event you're training for, practicing for, studying for. It could be taking a test, graduating college. I don't know. There's always kind of a prep, a journey that you go through when it comes to, achieving a goal. So right now I'm right in the middle of it. I'm in the thick of it, and there's ups and downs, highs and lows, a lot of emotions, a lot of doubts, and that's what we're going to get into today, these different phases, and we're going to talk about them so that we can learn how to overcome them, how to push through them, how we can, get through those phases so we can ultimately get to the finish line. That's the goal. We want to achieve that goal. And for me, it's, showing up on race day, trained and prepared and ready to go. So I've learned that every kind of fitness journey has this. I've experienced it. I've experienced the different levels every time I went through it. And it applies to everybody. Everybody's going to go through some kind of prep, whether that be, losing weight, building muscle, having a kid, changing jobs. I don't know. It's always something that you're going to experience. So there's going to be some emotional highs. There's going to be some emotional lows. I've definitely experienced those. Some days you're going to feel unstoppable. Some days you're going to question why you even started. And most people quit. They quit because when they experience these hard phases, they think that they're failing. So then they'll just quit because they think they're failing. But the hard phase is not you failing. The hard phase is actually part of the process. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it. You've always heard that saying, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So yeah, that hard phase is just part of the process. You just got to understand that going into it. So today I want to break down these different phases that everybody's going to go through and how you can push through each one of the phases. So phase number 1, and this is the one we've definitely all experienced. I know we've all had this phase, and it's the motivation phase. That's phase number 1. This is going to change my life. That's what you're telling yourself. And for most people, this is January 1st. That motivation phase January 1st. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not against New Year's resolutions. I think they're a good thing because you can use them to your advantage. But everybody's experienced this phase, the motivation phase. And unfortunately, the motivation phase does not last very long. It's very quick. And it's for good. I mean, it happens. I mean, it's for good reason. And the motivation phase is good because it gets people started. And that's all you need. You just need to, put your one foot in the door to get started. And you never know where that may lead you. So this is the exciting phase. This is when we get pumped up, we get motivated. We're watching YouTube videos about it. We're learning about it. We're asking friends about it. We're trying to set ourselves up for this, whatever this goal is. So you set that goal. Whatever that goal is, you set it. Whether it be losing 20 pounds, whether it's run 100 miles, whether it's complete an Ironman, bench press 225. You set that goal. Energy is high. You're pumped up. You're all excited about it. You want to tell people about it. You're studying about it, learning about it, practicing, whatever it is. Motivation is at sky high limits right now. You buy the new gear. That's me. I like gear. I don't know why. I just like buying new gear. Whatever it is, like whatever my new goal is, I like to buy, the gear for it. Cause like each time I do one of these different preps, I'm always doing something different. So there's always different gear that's related with it. So I love doing that. That kind of gets me motivated. You watch motivational videos. This is big. Anytime I do a different race, I'm watching YouTube videos about it because it gets me pumped up and I can learn about it. So I love watching YouTube videos about whatever that goal is I'm trying to do. You're telling people about your goal. This is a big one. I think you should tell people about your goal because it holds you accountable. I like to do this. I post stuff on social media, and the reason I do that, well, one of the reasons I do that is because it holds me accountable. Like if I put out a goal out there that I'm going to compete in a backyard ultra, then you best believe I'm going to show up to that backyard ultra because I don't want to, let everybody down. I don't want to tell everybody a lie. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be the one that said I was going to do something and I didn't do it. I didn't follow through. So that's why I tell people. It holds me accountable. And most importantly, you feel unstoppable. You get pumped up, you get motivated about that goal. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. January 1st, I'm doing it. I'm locking in. I know y'all have heard that before. I'm locking in. No more ifs, ands, or buts. I'm doing it. You feel unstoppable. Maybe you sign up for a marathon. Maybe you finally hire that coach. Maybe you start a new diet. Maybe you join a gym, the new gym in town. You joined it. Maybe you register for a bodybuilding show. Maybe you buy some new running shoes. You're going to start running. Buy some new running shoes. That's a good one. So the problem with this phase is people think that motivation will last forever. Well, it don't. Motivation does not last forever. And honestly, it don't last very long at all. It's a very quick phase. The motivation phase is very quick because you're going to learn real quick that the reason you ain't done that said goal in the past is because said goal is hard. It sucks. Getting there. It don't suck, but it sucks getting there because there's a lot of prep, a lot of work that has to go into it. So that motivation fades away really quick. And a lot of people tend to build their whole entire plan around this excitement. Like when you get motivated, you're like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this, 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 and this, and I'm gonna eat this, this, and that, and I'm gonna show up at the gym on this day and this day. So you build your plan around that excitement, but that excitement don't last very long. And then you realize real quick, hey, maybe this ain't gonna work. And you have to you may need to readjust your plan once that excitement wears off a little bit. That's probably more realistic. Because I know people tend to overdo it. We tend to overdo it, especially when it comes to fitness. We tend to overdo things because we get motivated and we're like, all right, I'm gonna go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm only eating 2,000 calories a day. And that's just too much at once. Like you're probably not gonna do that. It's not gonna last. As soon as that motivation wears off, that's a wrap. Like you just gonna quit. So motivation is temporary. Remember that. Don't try not to like overdo it from the get-go because you're probably basing your goals and stuff off of motivation, off of being excited. And you'll realize that goes away really quick. So remember this, motivation gets you started, but discipline is what's going to keep you going. So remember that motivation is going to get you started. Discipline is going to keep you going. Yeah. So how do we push through? How do we push through this motivation phase? You got to create structure early from the get-go, from day one. There's got to be some kind of structure. Like you said, like I mentioned earlier, you're making a plan around this. Yes, you need to make a plan because you got to have something to follow. So you're not just winging it. You're not just guessing. But we need to make that plan early and try to stick to it the best we can. We got to start building these habits up before the motivation starts to fade. So you got to start building the habits early because the faster we can build the habits, the more likely we are to stick to it, to maintain it. So I know habits are important to create, but the more important than creating a habit is just being consistent. So once we can be consistent, um, we can kind of create that habit. You don't have to be as intense. So don't focus on intensity as much as you focus on consistency. Because even if you show up halfway, like if you show up 50%, well, that's better than showing up, 100% one day, but then not showing up at all the next day. You know what I'm saying? So 100% one day and 0% the next day is going to put you in a worse position than showing up 50% every day. If you just showed up 50% every day, that's way better because that's just being consistent, in my opinion. So remember that. We got to build consistency, not necessarily intensity. Now, the intensity will go up over time, but we got to get consistent first before we can raise intensity. So don't rely on your feelings because, like I said, motivation is not going to last long. So let's try to throw the feelings out the window. Get rid of that. And we got to set realistic expectations. So like I said, you'll probably build this extravagant plan or routine around your motivation, around your excitement, and then you're going to realize, oh, maybe this is too much. So try to be realistic when it comes to your expectations. And don't say I'm going to lose 20 pounds in a week because that's not realistic either. It's going to take time. So the goal is not to feel motivated every day. The goal is just to keep showing up even on the days that you don't want to show up. Because trust me, there's going to be plenty of those days. So that's going to bring us to phase 2. Phase 2 is the reality check. The reality check phase. This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Reality check. So this is where the excitement starts to wear off. Where like I said, that motivation don't last long. It's going to start to wear off. That fatigue, it's going to start kicking in. I've definitely experienced the fatigue because it takes your body some time to adjust, especially when it's a physical goal. Your fatigue is going to start kicking in. Your body's changing. You're probably burning a lot more calories, things like that. Soreness is going to increase. You're going to get sore. Nobody likes being sore. It's not fun. Life's going to get busy. Something's going to happen. Life's going to get busy. So that's the reality check. You may have to spend more hours at work. You may have to do extra things with your kids. Life gets busy. Things happen. That's going to be hard. And then you'll realize like the goal requires a lot more sacrifice than you realize, a lot more sacrifice than you expected. And that's just how it works. Like if you try to create a new goal, if you have this new goal, you're going to have to sacrifice something. Somewhere, somehow, you're going to have to sacrifice because before what you were doing wasn't working. So in order for you to change that and find something that does work, well, you're going to have to sacrifice some things that you were doing before. That's just how it works. You're going to have to sacrifice. So those early morning workouts, they're going to start feeling brutal. They're going to start, getting old. Meal prepping, that's not fun. It's annoying. You're probably going to end up quitting doing it. Your body's going to start hurting. You're going to feel mentally drained just because you're pushing your body to its limits. You're working out harder than you ever have. You're going to start missing those comfort foods, maybe some of your foods that you cut out that you use for, when you're emotionally eating. Maybe you cut some of those out. You're going to start missing those foods. You may even have friends stop supporting you. Like if they don't understand your new goal, if they don't understand your obsession, they may stop supporting you. And that's not good when your friends don't support you. It's kind of a emotional thing. It's kind of like a trigger. So you may think, when you get to this phase, you may start thinking, maybe I picked the wrong goal. Maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe I should just quit. And a lot of people do. A lot of people quit in this phase. But we're going to push through it. We ain't quit in this phase because guess what? We got 5 more phases after this. This is only phase 2. So you don't want to quit in phase 2 because there's a lot more to go. So how do we push through this phase? We want to stop romanticizing the journey. So accept the journey for what it is. Accept that it's difficult. Accept that being difficult, that's normal. It goes back to the quote, if it was easy, everybody would do it. Well, it's not easy. It's going to be difficult to make a change, to achieve some goal. Normally goals have work related to it. And that work is normally not easy. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. So just accept that as part of the journey. Like that, it being hard, it being difficult is just part of what you have to do and go through in order to achieve your goal, whatever that may be. So we want to focus on winning the day, win each day. Don't try to look too far ahead. Don't look in the future. I know it's hard to do and I do it too, but like if your goal is to lose 20 pounds, don't be looking at that 20-pound number. Well, you need to start with, what do I want to lose this week? Maybe you want to lose 2 pounds this week. Look at that goal. Say, I need to lose 2 pounds because guess what? In order for you to lose 20 pounds, you have to lose 2 pounds first. So let's look on that smaller goal. Try to win the day. Reduce that goal down as much as you can. Maybe it's even today's workout. Like just focus on today's workout. Say I just got to get through today's workout. I don't have to do tomorrow's workout. I got to do today's. Focus on today's meals. I don't have to eat, tomorrow's meals. I can focus on today. Focus on recovery, like today's recovery. What I got to stretch today in order for me to get ready for tomorrow. But we just focus on those smaller goals. Break it down. Focus on the present as much as you can. So you don't have to finish the whole race today. Like the competition is not today. The goal does not end today. You just need to complete today to set yourself up for that goal, to get you to race day, to get you to the starting line. You got to complete today in order to get there. So remember that. That's phase 2, the reality check phase. Phase 3, and this is the one that gets everybody. This is the doubt phase. This is kind of the phase that I'm kind of experiencing right now in my own journey. And it's the doubt phase. And it's, am I even making any progress? Your progress may stall. This phase is kind of dangerous because this is where a lot of people quit. Some people quit on phase 2, but a lot of people can push through phase 2. But this is the one that gets people right here because progress is going to slow down, especially when you're going to lose weight or something. Like initially, you'll experience a lot of weight loss right from the get-go because you're drastically changing your habits. So you'll experience it pretty quickly, but you're going to hit a plateau very soon. And this is where your progress is going to slow down. So that's kind of this phase, the doubt phase. So the scale is going to stop moving. Your pace is going to stop improving. If you're bodybuilding, you may feel flat. You may feel depleted. Your legs are going to feel constantly heavy. Fatigue is going to accumulate week after week. It may feel like you're not recovering, you're not getting the sleep and things that you need. So what you're going to do, you're going to start comparing yourself. You're going to start looking on social media at other people and what they're doing. And this is going to start affecting you. It's going to start affecting your confidence. You're going to begin questioning yourself, your plan that you had. You're going to start questioning it. You're going to lose trust in yourself. You may miss a workout here and there. You may eat some junk food. You may start questioning what you're doing if you even set out to do this goal. So this is where most people quit, if I'm being honest. Like, yeah, some people will quit on phase 2, but a lot of people can push through. But when they get to phase 3, this is where a lot of people quit. So how do we push through this phase, the doubt phase? You got to understand delayed gratification. You got to understand that because things are not going to be handed to you up front. You got to put the work in first, and then it's handed to you afterwards. Actually, it's not even handed to you. You earned it. You worked for it. You went and got it. You did what you had to do to achieve it. So you got to also remember that progress is not always visible immediately. Like you may not see the progress up front. It may take some time to accumulate to see the progress on the back end. So you got to trust you're just being consistent and showing up each and every day. You just got to show that if you keep doing that, eventually you will get to your goal. So how can we, what's some small wins that we can realize so that we can kind of push through this? Because you're going to feel like you're not making progress to that big goal. So we got to start making some smaller goals, some smaller wins. So maybe how your energy feels. If you feel good one day, hey, that's a win. If you realize you created some better habits, if you're going to the gym, when you said you're going to the gym, hey, that's a win. You may not have got a good workout in today, but hey, you showed up to the gym and you got the workout in. That's a win. You may got better sleep. If you're working on your sleep for your recovery, you got better sleep one night, that's a win. If you got more discipline, that's a win. If you decided not to eat that junk food when you really wanted to eat it, that's a win. If you're building up more endurance, if you're training for a race, and you notice your mileage is getting up there, you're getting up there in mileage, you can go further, that's a win. It may not be fast, but it's a win. You may have a better mindset at this point. You may be like, well, it kind of sucks, but I'm doing it and I'm getting through it. And you'll start to believe in yourself, start to build up that mindset, start to be more confident in yourself. So these are some ways that some small, easy wins that we can remember to get us through this hard phase, because phase 3 is pretty tough. And just remember that just because you cannot see progress does not mean that progress is not happening. Because a lot of times, like I said, the scale may not be going down, but you may be building muscle or something. So you're still building, you're making progress. You just don't necessarily see it. You may be building endurance, but your pace is not improving, but you may be able to run farther. So you just got to remember, it's not always what you see in the mirror. A lot of times things happen on the back end, and then results will compound. They'll compound on top of each other, and you'll see better results in the future. And that's going to lead us to phase 4. So phase 4 is the identity shift. So you'll start to change how you speak about yourself, what you think about yourself. This is the phase where you start to believe in becoming the type of person that you want to become. It's like this is becoming part of who I am. You'll start to if it's working out, like the workouts may no longer feel optional. When you first started, when you're not used to working out, it may feel like an option. But then once you get dialed in, then you just get so used to going that it's just part of your routine. The discipline starts to become normal. Your standards start to rise for yourself. That's how you know you're really changing your identity. You start to become a runner. You start to become a lifter, a disciplined person, someone who keeps promises to themselves. That's a big one. So this is a phase that, like, for the longest time, I said I wasn't a runner. Like, because my background's weightlifting. So I was like, I never identified as a runner because, I just picked up running and I do it for these events. But I was talking to somebody the other day and we got to talking about running. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really a runner. I just started doing these events and they just included running. These events that I started doing, there just so happened to be some running involved in it. But yeah, I'm kind of like a weightlifter. I always kind of identify with building muscle. And then I told him, I was like, yeah, I ran a 100-miler last year. And he was like, 100-miler? He said, yeah, you're a runner. Like, you're a runner. If you run 100 miles, you're a runner. I don't care what you say. And it made me think, like, yeah, I guess I am. I guess I am a runner. So it's like, you kind of have that identity shift. And you'll start to, you always know the people. You could probably think of somebody right now that works out all the time. And you're like, yeah, they're just a fitness nut. Like, they're a fitness fanatic or enthusiast. You probably know that that's kind of their identity. Like, when you think of that person, you think of them like as a fitness person, like somebody that maybe works out. You think of them as somebody that always works out, or somebody that's always running. You think of them as a runner, or whatever it may be. It could be a reader, somebody that reads a lot of books. You kind of like start to correlate these things with different people, and that's because they have that identity shift in this phase. So this phase is huge because that long-term success happens when fitness becomes part of your identity, or whatever that goal is. When it becomes part of your identity, that's when that long-term success kind of locks in. It helps you, when you can start to identify as one of these people, then it helps you mentally. Like, it helps you be more, disciplined and motivated. And it just becomes easier. Like, it becomes easier to wake up and work out, to wake up and go run, to wake up and read your Bible, to wake up and film a video if you're doing content, whatever it is. Like, this is where you kind of start to shift and things start to become normal. You start to get in routine. It starts to become a habit. This is kind of that phase. That phase 4 is the identity phase. So instead of saying, I'm trying to work out, I'm trying to go to the gym, I'm trying to eat better, you start saying, I'm someone who eats better. I always eat better. I'm someone who trains. I'm someone who goes to the gym. I'm someone who runs. You start to kind of change how you talk about yourself. Like I said, I'm not a runner. That's what I was saying before. But now, like, somebody changed, they open my mind up to say, oh yeah, you are a runner. So now I will, like, now if somebody asks me, I'll say, yes, I'm a runner. But I also work out. I'm kind of like a hybrid athlete. That's what most people say. It's kind of like the thing that's in right now is the hybrid athlete. And I like that. I like that. So yeah. So fitness stops feeling like punishment in this phase because you're kind of identifying your change. Like, fitness don't feel like punishment. It starts to feel like your life, like your lifestyle, just something you do, one of your habits. I always say that fitness is not something you have to do. It's something that you get to do. And this is kind of where that idea kind of starts to change in your mind, because fitness should be enjoyable. It should be something you like to do, something that you enjoy. It shouldn't be something that you like have to work yourself up to do each and every day. And yeah, it takes a while to get there. You have to build up to that level. So that's why it takes, a while to get to this phase. So that's phase 4. How do we push through this phase? You got to protect your identity. Keep proving to yourself who you are. Keep showing up for yourself. And your identity will start to change. Like, you'll start to think differently about yourself when you show up each and every day. When you start doing those things that you didn't used to do, but now you are doing, you start stacking those small wins daily, each and every day, then your identity starts to change. And you stop negotiating with yourself. Like now, if you're at the beginning, you probably negotiate going to the gym or not. You probably negotiate eating the dessert or not. But after a while, you just won't even it won't even be a question. You won't even have to negotiate. You just get up and go to the gym, or you'll just say no to the dessert. Like you won't even second guess it. So that's what we got to get to. We got to get to that level. Remember, we talked about this on the previous episode. Every action you take is casting a vote for the person that you want to become. So we actually did an episode on that. So if you hadn't, go back and listen to it. I think it was the last episode, or maybe the one before. But yeah, y'all go check that episode out. We talked about the actions you take and how it's a vote for who you want to become, whether that be a good action or a bad action. The next phase is phase 5, the burnout/mental battle phase. This is the phase where you get tired. You say, I'm tired. This phase is real. It's especially in long preps. When the preps are months long, you're definitely going to feel this phase. And I've definitely felt this in every phase. You just get exhausted. Your body gets tired. You're doing the same things over and over and over again. It's a long prep. Sometimes they get kind of boring, and they're hard to push through. So this is common, especially for marathon training, for ultra training, for bodybuilding prep, for any kind of aggressive weight loss phase. Like, this is going to be, you're going to experience this phase. You're going to get burnt out eventually. And it's just because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And there's no change. You're eating the same things over again. You're doing the same workouts over again. That's why it is good to change things up over time. But if you have a very, very specific goal, then you don't really have that option to change things up. Like, you have to lock in on that goal, and you have to do that style of training, that food, have to eat those foods for that specific goal. So like, my diet and my training right now looks a lot different than what it does when I'm not in a prep, if that makes sense. But I have to train this way for this race because it's going to get my body prepared the best for this race. So that's why you can get kind of burnt out doing the same style. Because if I wasn't training for a race, then I wouldn't train I wouldn't train how I am right now, because it don't make sense to train like I am right now all the time. It only makes sense to train like I am now for this specific race. So some symptoms, you may have physical fatigue, you may have mental exhaustion, you may have mood swings. So watch out for mood swings. If you experience that, then you're probably in this phase. You may have some irritability. You may get irritable pretty easy. Your motivation is going to be pretty low in this phase for sure. You're not going to be excited to get up out the bed every morning to go to the gym or whatever. And you may just feel like emotionally flat. So you definitely will experience this. So just be aware. Like, if you start feeling this way, just know this is what it is. Like, it's just the burnout phase. It's okay. You will push through it. You may need to dial your training back a little bit to let your body recover. And this will help get more sleep, get more food in you. Maybe tone the workouts back a little bit because you may be a little overtrained if you are experiencing this. But don't think that this means you need to quit. Like, just because you're burnt out doesn't automatically mean you should quit. May just mean you should dial it back a little bit, let your body recover, and then get right back to it. Or sometimes you don't even need to kind of dial it back. You just got to push through this phase because sometimes it's going to suck. So just make sure you're getting better recovery, better sleep, get more calories in, do you a deload week, like dial your training back for a week, let your body recover. Maybe you need more balance. Maybe you're overdoing it. More sunlight, more time away from social media. That may help you. And then sometimes you just need to simply keep going, like keep pushing through. It's going to get hard. But at this point in this phase, like, you're probably not going to quit at this point because you're already so far in. Like, you're already locked in by the time you get to this phase. Like, you've already been doing this for months. You've already been putting in the work. You're locked in at this point. So like, you're probably not going to quit at this phase, but it's going to suck. You're going to have a dip. Probably going to be kind of emotionally drained. You're not going to be super happy. You're going to be irritable, maybe have some mood swings. I've definitely experienced this as well in each one of my preps. And normally this happens when you get to like your peak training, when you get to your peak like miles, or your peak training when it comes to fitness, like a bodybuilding show, when you get down to your lowest amount of calories, like that peak of whatever it is of your prep. The peak of your prep is normally when you experience it. So like, my mileage for this training period will get up to like 80 miles a week. So I know when I have that 80-mile week, I'm probably going to be pretty, moody. So I'm not going to be the happiest camper in the world because I'm going to be running a lot. So I just got to know that that's going to happen, and I got to be ready for it. So just remember that. So some ways to push through this phase is to separate your discomfort from like actual danger. Like, don't just think, you're in actual danger because you have a lot of discomfort during this period. You got to learn the difference between I'm injured and this is uncomfortable. Because if you're injured, yes, you need to stop or you need to recover. And then a lot of times you're going to experience this is uncomfortable. And you're going to want to kind of pull it back. But you just got to know the difference. Try to figure out the difference. Try to know the difference of those two. I'm injured and I'm uncomfortable because that's two different things. Just because you're uncomfortable don't mean you need to step back from your goal. If you're injured, yeah, you may need to step back. But there's a big difference there. You got to try to reconnect your why during this period. You got to remember why you did it, why you're signing up for this race, why you're trying to lose weight, why you have this goal. Try to remember that. Remind yourself each and every day. Write it on a sticky note, put it on your mirror so you see it every day when you wake up in the morning. Remind yourself why. Remember why you started. And then also you can visualize the finish line. Like visualize yourself 20 pounds lighter. Visualize yourself running across that finish line. Visualize yourself bench pressing 225. Focus on the gratitude, focus on the good things, and think about what you're going to feel like when you actually achieve that goal. And that'll help you keep going and push through the hard times. So growth often feels uncomfortable because the old version of you is being challenged. The old version of you is dying off. And that feels uncomfortable because we get stuck in our ways. We get used to certain ways. We have habits. And when you start to change those, you start to feel uncomfortable. And that's where the growth happens. So remember that. Phase 6 is the breakthrough phase. I'm capable of more than I thought. That's phase 6, the breakthrough. This is the phase that everybody wants. This is the one that we look for. This is the breakthrough. But a lot of people never make it to this phase because they don't stick around long enough to experience this phase. And that's what that's why I like doing these preps, because every one of these preps I do, I learn something new about myself. I learn that breakthrough each and every time. So I challenge you, if you're gonna, sign up for a race or do a goal, like push through, because you'll have this breakthrough phase and you'll learn something about yourself that you didn't know before, to make you a better person. This phase is where your confidence is going to grow. This phase is where your mental toughness is going to grow. It's going to develop. You're going to get mentally stronger. This is the phase where you start realizing that the limits that you set for yourself, they're not real. They're fake. They're just limits that you set for yourself, but that's not legit. So this is where you got to kind of break through those limits that you thought you had in your head. Like I thought I couldn't run 100 miles before, but then I did it. So now I know that's not a limit. Like I broke that limit. And I figured it out in this phase, in the breakthrough phase. So just know that your body can adapt. Your mind can adapt. You can go a lot harder and farther than you think you can right now. I promise. So some examples of like a breakthrough may be like your first double-digit run. If you've been running 5Ks, and then one day you break out, you run a 10-mile run, double digits. Like that's a breakthrough. That's huge. You may finally do your first pull-up. Doing your first pull-up, that's a breakthrough. That's huge. You may hit that milestone of weight loss. You may hit that 20 pounds or that 50 pounds, whatever that first milestone was. You may see your abs for the first time. If you're trying to get a six-pack, see that first ab popping through, that may be a breakthrough. You may complete a long training run you got, a long endurance run. You may hit a PR. You may bench press that 225. You may do something that you used to fear, like a workout, like a brutal workout or something that you used to fear. You may do it. That's a breakthrough. You may complete it. So those are some examples of the breakthrough. And remember, the breakthrough usually comes after the hardest moments. Like you don't experience that breakthrough until you go through the valley, until you go through those hard moments, and then you come out up on top on the other side. So remember that. It comes after the work, after the hard times, after all those other phases, then you have the breakthrough. Unfortunately, you can't just have the breakthrough up front. That's just not how life works, unfortunately. I wish it did work that way. That'd be very nice, but it don't work that way. So remember that. It comes after. So how do we continue to push through, to continue growing through the breakthrough phase is you got to stay humble. Don't get complacent. Like once you complete that phase, don't quit. Keep going. Don't get complacent. You got to keep learning. You got to keep showing up, and you got to set new goals. Because I promise you, once you hit that breakthrough, it's going to be hard to keep going because you achieved your goal. You achieved that goal. So then it's hard to like keep going after you achieved it, if that makes sense. Because then you don't have, you achieved that goal. So it's like, well, I achieved it. Now what do I do? Or why do I need to keep working if I achieved the goal? So we need to set new goals. That's a little hack. So the person that you become during that journey is way more valuable than the results that you got from the journey, if that makes sense. So like, say you lost 20 pounds. That's great. That's the result you got from the journey. But the person that you had to become during that journey, to me, that's more important. Like that's more valuable to me, is who you became in the process of losing the 20 pounds than actually you losing the 20 pounds. So I hope that makes sense. Like the person I become during my prep, during my training, with the things I learned about myself, that's valuable to me. That's going to be more valuable than showing up on race day and running 100 miles and, achieving my goal of running the backyard ultra. Like all the training, the prep, what leads up to that day, it's what's really more important to me, what's valuable to me. And you'll probably realize this yourself once you achieve a big goal that you have for yourself. And then you have phase 7. So this is the finish line phase. And we kind of hit on a little bit, but like now it's like, what do I do now? After I achieve my goal, what do I do now? This is not something that people really talk about a lot. This is after the race, after you achieve the goal, after you lost the weight, you bench press, whatever, after the bodybuilding show, after the transformation, there can sometimes lead to a little bit like emptiness. And I've experienced this as well. One, you're kind of glad the goal is over. You can kind of relax a little bit, but then it's like, well, what do I do now? You feel kind of lost. Your structure that you had, it kind of disappears because you're like, oh, I don't need to do that anymore because I achieved my goal. So like for me, it's my training plan, like getting up and running 6 days a week. After my race, I'm not going to run 6 days a week because it's not necessary and it's not sustainable. But that structure of running 6 days a week is going to disappear. That excitement is going to fade away. You just had that big goal, got super excited, you achieved it, and then boom, it's gone. So your excitement fades away. You no longer have that countdown. Like for me, the race, counting down to the race, that like gets me going. I'm like, oh, I'm 1 day closer, 1 day closer. And then you get to the month of the race, you're like 1 month away. And then you get to the week of the race, you're like 1 week away. And you're counting it down each and every day. So that kind of goes away, and that kind of sucks in a way. So this is why you'll see some people regain weight. They'll regain the weight because they follow that structure. And they go back to what they were doing before because they achieved their goal. And they thought, well, I'll just quit. So they regain the weight. Some athletes will feel depressed after competition. So I've kind of experienced this after my races. It's like you work so long for so many months for a goal and then you do it. And it's like, well, what do I do now? I got to do something else. So that's why I keep doing different goals each year. I'll keep switching it up. And then some people just completely stop training after they accomplish their goal. They just completely stop. And that's probably the worst thing you can do. I'm not saying to keep training like you were training before, but keep training. Just dial it way back. Give yourself time to recover. Like if you were going to the gym 5-6 days a week, go 2 or 3 days a week. You got to dial it back, but don't quit at all. Don't quit altogether. That's the worst thing you can do. And don't go back. Like if you're on a diet phase, don't go back to eating all the junk food that you were eating before. Introduce maybe your favorite food back in, favorite 2 foods or so, but like don't just go balls to the wall afterwards because you will regain that weight. You will relapse and go back to what you were doing before. The important lesson is the goal that you set, that's never supposed to be the end. Like, yeah, that's a goal, but really that's just the beginning. That's not the end. That's just the beginning of a lifestyle change, of a life of fitness. Like that's not the end. That's just the beginning. The goal was supposed to transform you, but then once you're transformed, the goal is to stay that way, to stay transformed, to maintain it, to find something that's sustainable. Like if you lost the weight, obviously you don't want to gain the weight back. The goal is to build a foundation for yourself to learn from and then use that process, that prep, use that to continue on after that goal. So how do you push through this phase? Reflect back on what you learned, like lessons learned during the prep, during the race, during the bodybuilding show. Reflect back on those lessons and that will help you, kind of push through this phase. Also set new challenges, new goals. If your goal was 20 pounds, well, make it 30 pounds. If your goal was to run 50 miles, make it 75 miles or whatever. Like set new challenges, new goals. You can change it up like I do. Also maintain your routine. Like I said, you don't have to go back. You don't have to do the same training plan you were doing, but maintain some kind of plan, like some kind of training plan. If you're probably going very, very hard for a set goal, but that's not sustainable to do forever. Dial it back a little bit and maintain some kind of training routine. Keep fitness as a part of your identity. Keep it as something that you You do. You don't even have to think about. You don't question. It's part of your identity. It's how you identify. Like keep that as like a foundation because fitness is going to help with everything you do and everything in life. And then focus on sustainability. That's my last one. Is don't. This one's like for races. This one's easy because for races you can keep training. You just dial your mileage way back. Maybe if you're dieting, maybe add some calories back in, something that's more sustainable. Like if you were at 1,500 calories, that's very low. Maybe, add some back in, make it 2,000 calories, but don't go all the way out. Like don't go eating 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000 calories a day. Try to find something that's sustainable that you can do for a lifetime, not something you can do for a short period of time. It's like for me, for the race, I know that me training how I'm training right now for the race is not sustainable. It's not like a lifetime of fitness. It's just for me to achieve this goal of this race. It's not something I'm going to do forever. Like after the race, I'm going to tone it way back, especially for a while to let my body recover. And then whenever I set a different goal, then I'll start training for that goal. But I'm going to give it some time in between. I'm going to find something that's sustainable. I'm not going to, just go balls to the wall all the time, every day, 24/7, 365 days a year, because that's not sustainable. So think of like think of the goal that you set as a temporary goal, and that should create permanent growth. So your goal should create growth, and then you go from there. So remember, that's phase 7. So yeah, I'm kind of starting to experience these phases right now in my own backyard ultra journey. I probably like phase 3, maybe phase 4. Like I started to doubt myself a little bit, but then I'll watch a motivational video to get me back up, get me going. Some days I feel strong. Some days I'm exhausted. Some days I definitely don't want to get up and run. Like this morning, it was storming outside, and I like running outside better. And I knew in my head, I was like, I'm gonna have to run on the treadmill, and I really don't want to do that. So what did I do? I laid in the bed for like an hour before I ever got up because I really didn't want to go run on the treadmill. But I got up and I did it anyways. I did 12 miles on the treadmill this morning, and it was brutal, but I got it done because that's what I have to do. If I want to show up prepared on race day, then I just got to get the work done. Got to, period. Now, if I wouldn't have a race, if I wasn't training for a race, absolutely I would not have done it. I would not have got up and ran 12 miles on the treadmill. I would have just pushed it to the next day because it's not sustainable to do that when you're not training for something specific. But I have a goal set in mind. I want to do 100 miles at the Backyard Ultra. That's my goal. So I got to put the work in to achieve that goal, because if I don't put the work in, then I can't be mad at myself when I don't achieve the goal. You know what I'm saying? I can't. Like if I put 100% effort in, I put the work in, I show up each and every day, and then I don't achieve that goal, well, then I'm not going to be mad at myself because I know I did the best I could. I know I showed up each and every day and put in the work that I could. But if I didn't show up, then I'd be mad at myself because I'd be like, well, dang, I probably could achieve that goal if I would have showed up on that day. If I would have got up that morning and ran the 12 miles on the treadmill like I was supposed to, I probably would have achieved my goal. So you got to hold yourself accountable. But I'm learning. This is an emotional roller coaster, especially when you're pushing your body to its limits like I am. That's normal. That's part of a prep. You're probably going to experience it at sometimes. Some days I feel good. Some days I feel unstoppable. Like my legs were heavy for a while, but they feel a little bit better this week. Like I had 2 back-to-back long runs this weekend. My legs didn't feel so heavy. They're getting used to the mileage. I'm upping my mileage shortly at a time, so my legs are starting to get used to it. Get time on feet. I'm getting some. I did 50 miles this week, so my mileage is getting up there. 50 miles in 1 week. That's a lot. So yeah, this is where I figure out who I am. This is where the growth is going to happen. This is where I either put up or I show up or I quit, but I already got it in my head that I'm going to do this race. So I'm going to show up the best I can. I'm not perfect. I may not show up 100% every day, but I'm going to show up with everything I got for that day. If I only got 70% that day, I'm going to give it 70%. If I only got 20% that day, I'm going to give it 20%. So yeah, I'm just going to do what I can so I can show up ready on race day. So whatever phase you're currently in, just remember, don't quit, don't panic, don't assume that you're going to fail, or don't assume that if things get hard that you're going to fail. That's not the case. You just got to push through these phases. Every fitness journey is going to have a phase. Every fitness journey is going to have seasons. Every goal comes with emotional highs. It comes with emotional lows. You're going to be on top of the mountain one day, and then you're going to the bottom of the valley the next day. That's just kind of how it happens. That's life. You know, the people who succeed are not necessarily the people who are always motivated. People that are motivated forever, they're not the ones who succeed. The people who succeed are the people who keep showing up for themselves each and every day. They show up through every phase. They push through. They get the work done. They don't quit. That's the people who succeed. You know, it's all. You've heard me say that quote a million times. Hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. So that's exactly what I'm talking about here. If you got all the talent in the world, but you don't work hard, well, you're going to get beat every single time by the person that shows up every day that works hard that may not be the most talented. They're going to beat you every single time because they worked hard and they showed up each and every day. So yeah, remember, the struggle is not a sign that you're off track. Sometimes the struggle is the track. Remember that. The struggle sometimes means you're right where you need to be. You're right on path. And that's just part of the journey. So yeah, hopefully y'all get something from this today. If you know somebody that's going through a fitness journey, some kind of race, some kind of prep, share this episode with them. Let them know that you're thinking about them and that you believe in them and that they're going to achieve that goal, whatever it is. Send it to them. Leave a like, a comment, subscribe wherever you're listening to, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen at. I'd appreciate it. Show some support, show some love. That way I can keep showing up for y'all each and every week. Yeah, that's all I got for y'all. I hope y'all have a great weekend, a great week. Again, thank you to all the veterans, all the people who paid the ultimate sacrifice to, support our country, to protect us, to give us freedom. Thank y'all. Active military as well. Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all, and we have a lot of gratitude for you and your family. So thank y'all. That's gonna do it for today's episode. Y'all be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast. Peace, love, protein. We out.